Thank you for joining in on the study. My name is Tanner Campbell, and in this episode of 5-Minute Bible Studies, we're going to be talking about a very interesting question. How old is the earth? Some say millions, some say billions, some say thousands. What does God say? God created this world after all. What does He tell us about how old this earth is, how long we've been around? Well, He does in fact tell us that. The Bible tells us, and we can actually get quite specific, although it will still have to be a little bit of an estimate as to how old the earth is in a span of years, but we can come down to a pretty accurate figure of how old this earth is based on just what the Bible itself tells us. Now, to do this, all we have to look at is the genealogical record found in the Bible. We're going to be looking at the books of Genesis and the book of Luke, where we have the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Because the genealogy of Jesus Christ is outlined in the Bible all the way back to the beginning of the world, when Adam and Eve were created. And from Adam all the way to Jesus, all we would simply have to do is a simple addition, simple mathematics, till we get to a figure of years between Adam and Jesus. And from there, we know how far removed we are from the birth of Jesus to today, which when this episode was recorded, we're in the year 2015. So from Adam to Jesus, the Bible tells us roughly how many years that is. And now from Jesus to where we are, and presently 2015, we simply add those two figures together, and there's the age of the world. And so let's start here. In Genesis chapter 5, we have the genealogy of Adam, which Adam is certainly the first of the line of Jesus Christ. And all we have to do is take the year, not how long he lived, that won't do us any good, but the year in which he had the child of the bloodline of Jesus, which was Seth. And he was 130 years old when he had Seth. And we just need to follow suit with that. Seth had Enosh of the bloodline of Jesus when he was 105. So we need to take note of each of these numbers as we go down the line. Enosh was 90 years old when he had Canaan. Canaan was 70 years old when he had Mahalalel. Mahalalel was 65 years old when he had Jared. And Jared was 162 years old when he had Enoch. And Enoch, 65 years old when he had Methuselah. Now I want to stop here because this is so fascinating to me. How long these individuals lived before the flood of Noah in Genesis chapter 6. They lived so long. And likewise, they had children in much greater years than we do certainly today. We just don't live that long. But we can see that Adam actually knew his great-great-great-great-grandson, Methuselah. How fascinating is that? Now, certainly things are about to change in the history of the world, and mankind is going to have a much shorter lifespan, and therefore going to start having children at a much earlier age as well. But how fascinating is that Adam knew Methuselah. Following the genealogy in Genesis chapter 5, Methuselah was 187 years old when he had Lamech. Lamech was 182 years old when he had Noah, and Noah was 500 years old when he had Shem. Now, certainly we know that Noah had Shem, Ham, and Japheth, but we're not interested in Ham or Japheth. We're interested in Shem, because Shem is going to be able to provide us with the equation as far as how old the earth is, because it is through Shem by which Jesus is born onto the earth. And so Shem is 100 years old when he has his son Arphaxad. Now, this is where the genealogy stops in Genesis chapter 5, but it will pick up in chapters 11 of Genesis. So in chapter 11 of Genesis, we see Arphaxad being 35 years old when he has Salah, Salah 30 years old when he has Eber, Eber 34 years old when he has Peleg, Peleg 30 years old when he has Reu, Reu 32 years old when he has Serug, Serug 30 years old when he has Nahor, Nahor 29 years old when he has Terah. Terah is 70 years old when he has Abram, whose name is later changed to Abraham, and Abraham was 100 years old when he had Isaac. Now, what are we seeing here that's different? Well, as we had already mentioned, after the flood, we see Shem having Arphaxad, and these individuals here from here on out, they're not living to be hundreds of years old anymore. They're having a much shorter lifespan, and they're having children younger as well. All these individuals are having children roughly around their early 30s. Now, after Abraham being 100 years old, to have Isaac, certainly Terah and Abraham are exclusions to the rule here, being quite older when they were having children. But all in all, the average is early 30s. Specifically, the average mathematically is 31.4 years of age when these individuals were having children. Now, after this, the Genesis record stops providing us with the exact years by which these individuals were having the children who were of the bloodline of Jesus. So we're not going to be able to have an exact figure as far as the exact amount of years by which how old this earth is. But we can come to a very, very, very close and accurate estimate, because we know by average that these individuals were, about 31.4 mathematically when they were having children. So we'll just take that average and go through. We can look in Luke chapter 3 and see the genealogical record of Jesus. How after this we get to Nahshon, and then Salmon, then Boaz, and then Obed, then Jesse, and David. These are individuals that we know very well about through the Scriptures. And it moves on from there, the genealogical record. We can look at all these individuals in the book of Luke chapter 3 and verse 23 through verse 38. But all in all, there are 75 generations of men from the beginning of the earth, beginning with Adam, and down to the birth of Jesus. 75 generations, and that equals a total amount of 3,924 years. So we have one part of the equation here. Now, we also know that Jesus was born in the year 5 BC. Now, how we know that specifically is a whole nother 5-minute Bible study that is yet to be created. But maybe in time to come we'll consider those things. But it was certainly roughly 5 BC in which Jesus was born. So all we need to do now to get to the year 0 is add the 3,924 years to 5 years, because there's 5 more years till we get to the year 0. And so that totals 3,929 years. Now that we're at the year 0, all we have to do is come to our present day. How far removed are we from the beginning of the AD years? 2015. So all we need to do now is add 3,929 years, that's the BC times, to the AD times, which is 2015. And that totals what? 5,944 years. Now, simply that is simply an estimate, and therefore it would probably be best for us to just round off that estimate, in which case we would get 6,000. And so the earth, according to God, who created this earth, what we find in the Word of God, this earth is approximately 6,000 years old.